So welcome to the first ever Gatepick podcast from Dirt Hub. So basically the Gatepick, we get a good old fashioned bag, proper grubby one as well, with 40 pegs in it, proper old school Gatepick type of thing. And each one has a number, and that will be in turn a question. Obviously today's guest, we've got 7 times World Enduro champion Steve Holcombe. He welcomed me into his home, obviously met the dog. Been scared off by that, and so thank you very much for taking time to do it, Steve. And before we get into you delve your hand into the pegs of doom. So what you've been up to. I know you're sort of recovering from an operation and stuff like that.
No, it's been a slightly different off season really. It's actually been quite enjoyable not riding in one respect, because this time of year, especially in the UK, it's pretty muddy, cold. It takes a lot of effort to go riding and find tracks that are kind of decent to ride. So I've actually enjoyed having kind of 12 weeks off the bike. A little bit more actually. The last time I rode was the final GP. I had to have a kind of shoulder stabilization. I had a little crash weekend before Germany. Ended up dislocating my shoulder a little bit, and kind of got some scans when I come home, and it was actually a little bit worse than what we were expecting. So booked in for an operation there and then, and got that sorted. So recovery's been going well. Physio's been kind of good, especially the last few weeks now. Back on the bike.
So you're back on the bike?
Back on it. First ride was last weekend. I was actually surprised how kind of good I felt, really, from the shoulder point of view, and even it didn't feel like I'd had 12 weeks off the bike. So that was really positive. And then did a little bit of mountain biking the day after, and kind of like in some tight, twisty trees. And again, really surprised how it felt. So the work I've been putting in's been good. So ready to get back to it.
That's cool. So ready for mud bellies then? Because I said to Josh I'd mention it because we had a chat literally the same day. So I know you had a bit of a different type of podcast.
Yes, exactly.
Last night. So I bet you can do it.
I'd love to, but I'm in Spain that weekend. So it's very unfortunate. That's 2 years in a row I've missed it now, especially being so local to where I am here. It's and they're a great bunch of lads. It would have been awesome to kind of support it. But I'll just have to hope for 2024.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. And there's a couple of things. Obviously, we chatted at the ACU ISD Awards, and we were chatting about all sorts of stuff. And it's a bit of a thing, really. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Gatepick, is to try and learn a bit more about the riders, a bit more, because Enduro seems quite a close shop. Like we see, especially now, like Billy Bolt and Tommy Searle and the vlog side of it, and certainly American, motocross and supercross. But EnduroGp really seems like we just don't get behind it. We don't know that much about the riders. Obviously, we know you guys are good and all those things. But the other side of it, because one of the things we were talking about was obviously the ISDE, and obviously Tilda did a great job sort of showing how much goes into it before the actual ISDE, and I learned so much from that. And then speaking to you, so much about the preparation for an EnduroGp in terms of memorizing the track. And I didn't realize any of that, to be honest. And I read a book about the TT, the Isle of Man TT, and how they memorize the tracks. Would you say it's that much intensity for EnduroGp when you walk the track?
I'd say it's tricky, because the TT is year on year, isn't it? And they take years to develop that knowledge. And it changes, I guess, somewhat year to year, depending on if they do works on the roads and stuff. But the thing is, we've got different tracks every race, and different tests, and then you've got to think how the tests are going to develop. It's not tarmac, which is not really going to change too much, and only kind of get better with grip levels, whereas ours are going to get considerably worse each lap. It's arguably kind of one of the most important parts of the races, because we don't get sight on that. We can only walk, occasionally sometimes cycle. They brought that kind of rule in last year, which is interesting. A few people kind of did it. I personally didn't, until they bring in e-bikes. I think it's almost arguably easier to walk. It is quite an intense kind of thing. We can rock up and walk the test from Wednesday morning, So literally Wednesday, Thursday, and then we test bike Thursday afternoon, and Fridays literally spent just kind of walking and memorizing what you're going to do.
Right. Okay. So you are walking the tracks.
Yeah. I mean, we'll do probably over 20 miles at least, kind of each event, depending on how long the tests are. Some enduro tests are, they do everything in kilometers, so some of them are 6 to 8, 9 kilometers long. Some of them take 2.5 hours to walk. But then then you've got to balance how many times you walk it. Normally you'd look for 2 to 3 times. Some people walk them more than that, which I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Usually after the second walk, you're pretty dialed, really.
Yeah.
So like I say, certainly the long ones, I try and only do them twice, because we have got a race the Saturday and Sunday.
So how much do you think that memory side of things is a skill set for enduro rider? How important is that? Like, if let's say, for instance, if you haven't got a good memory, if you can't recall walking that track, how is that going to affect you being an enduro rider?
I think it depends. I think it's a lot more crucial for kind of the first 4 guys on the test. And it's kind of like, to a degree, that I do struggle with sometimes in certain tests. Like if they're not very challenging, I really struggle to remember them. So like, as soon as something's difficult, that's it. I remember it literally. You remember which side of this small little rock you need to go, like which route you need to do, like literally what gears you're going to be in.
Yeah. And
then you start kind of elaborating on that. Like, say there's a little bit of a bog, you can go like, right, first lap I'm going to hit it there. Second lap, you can kind of, that side's going to be harder than this side. And we do have kind of people to help us with line choice as the kind of race progresses. But that's why I think you see when motocrosses come, sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to come into it, because they have never had to do that. They kind of have practices, you can get to know the track, and whereas, like I say, we need to, if there's a jump out on the track, it's pretty much not pot luck, but it's kind of, you need to figure out how fast you need to hit that. Based on your skills, based on what you think is possible, and whereas it is definitely challenging.
So like, it must be really hard to get to sleep at night. Like, is it running around your head?
Yeah, a little bit. I try not to do that too much, especially like kind of Friday. But the issue we have is Fridays we have like a super test, it's called.
Yeah.
So the problem is we have like a adrenaline spike at like 9:30 at night. Yeah. So, and then we're up at 6 a.m. to have breakfast to race for Saturday. So that's something that I think it's great for spectators, but from a riding and an athlete point of view, it's really not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I think the latest time I've been in, because I have a camper van at the races, I think it was Portugal in 2019. I didn't end up getting into my camper van until 11:30 at night, and then we were up for a start at 8:30. So I was up at kind of 6 o'clock in the morning. So you think for performance, that's not a great amount of time to sleep, but I think it's important to get yourself kind of dialed as far as remembering the special test, and kind of get it out of your mind as quickly as you can, and try and do it all in the kind of Saturday morning.
No, and that, like I said, when we spoke, that really interested me, that side of it, because we know that you've got to be good on them tests, and it is a matter of seconds between you guys. But the intensity of how you walked it and how far you walked, I was surprised by. The other thing we spoke about was your trip to America and the GNCC.
Yeah.
So we'll just quickly touch on that before we delve into the bag. So that was a bit of a rude awakening, and some of the stuff you told me about that was quite interesting, like how many riders are actually there and how much of a big deal that is.
It's ridiculous. It's like you rock up on a Friday and it's literally just full of campers. Because they have a really big amateur kind of race on the Saturday and the Sunday mornings, and quads are on the Saturday. I can't remember exactly the figures, but it's like multiples of thousands of people on the Sunday that are racing. I think something like 2,500 in the morning race, and 1,500, for example, like thereabouts. So the track's getting pretty beat up, which is kind of what I wasn't expecting. So I rocked up over there with my, enduro suspension, what I raced over here, and safe to say that wasn't up to the job. But it was kind of like I had a view of it would be, a little bit kind of less, not speed wise, but kind of you'd settle in a bit more.
Yeah.
And whether it was just because it was so different, but like I was pretty high heart rate pretty much the whole race. And I'd done a lot of my training was kind of like 80 to 90% for like longer distances. So I was doing like 45-hour motos kind of in the sand, and thought that would be a better pace, but I would have been better just trying to go as fast as I can for like 30 minutes, because that's pretty much what it is. It's just a motocross race in the trees.
Right. Okay.
You know, and you've got the whole racecraft, and you know, as soon as you lose the tag of kind of the guy in front, you know, you fall back to the group back behind, and then everyone wants to come past you, and it's, you know, something that I haven't done certainly at that pace, you know, that long of a race. But no, it was a great experience.
So how does that equate to like in comparison to a good old fashioned UK hare and hounds?
Yeah. I mean, the tracks are, I'd say some of the tracks, depending on the location over here, would be arguably better. But the thing there, their laps are so long. So they're like 25 to 30-minute lap times, you know, and that's obviously going as fast as you can. Whereas I may, you know, I don't think I've raced a cross country where there's been a lap time probably more than like 13, 14, 15 minutes. So although there's that many riders on track, you don't really get the feeling that there's that many riders on track, and the tracks are kind of wide enough that you can go every which way. But it's more difficult, I think, for outsiders coming in, because they race near enough the same tracks every year and kind of change directions here and then. Like everybody knows where the lines are going. So I remember kind of, especially in Florida, was riding cycling around, because you can e-bike then, luckily. Right. So I was cycling around with my one of the USA guys, Evan Smith, who I kind of was staying with over there. And he's like, you know, talking through some things, and he's like, yeah, I did this line last year, and it was like, you could see it, like no one had hardly been on it, and they literally saved them for like the last couple laps, you know, and literally just pull a couple lines out of the bag, and they've got, you know, 30 seconds a lap quicker, and you just, you know, that's why the race changes so much in the last couple laps.
They sort of keep them up their sleeve.
Literally, yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting. It's quite, certainly a very different way of riding, although it's, you know, on the same bikes effectively. It's just the whole mindset, how you approach a weekend, the training you do for that. It's, you know, drastically different to what we do.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like I said, when we spoke about it, it was it was quite cool to learn about your experiences over there and the differences between it. Because, you know, you can see, you know, from a dirt angle, you look at it and you can see what a big deal it is over there. Yeah. But it's sort of, we don't really connect with it as much. Obviously, I remember Dave and Art going over there and doing pretty well. Yeah. Obviously, Todd Kellett's done it.
Yeah, Paul Edmondson.
Paul Edmondson. Yeah, so, you know, we've seen the Brits go over, but it doesn't quite get the attention over it. But it just looks so huge.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've explained that as well, how big it is. So, but yeah, no, thank you for that. So, right, I've got this bag. I don't know where it comes from. It's got the name Ian on it. So thanks, Ian, for this grubby old bag. It's got to be grubby. When's the last time you would have put your hand in a bag and picked a peg out for Gatepick?
Do you know what? I was thinking even when my last motocross race was. I think my last motocross race was the beginning of 2015.
Okay.
So we'll go with that. But I think it was probably way before that.
Right. So here we go.
Yeah. So I grew up in the time where you'd never had qualifying.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, you never had transponders.
12.
Oh my God, right. Let's see. This is the first one. So let's see if we can find out what number 12 is here. Okay. So, in your opinion, what is the greatest racetrack on the planet?
Oh, wow.
And it can be anything. So, like that, you can think motocross, enduro, anything you've done. Yeah,
I mean, greatest. Like I said, the issue with enduro is we tend to not go back to the same places. I'd say enduro-wise, probably greatest track would be a place called Superpowers in Germany, which is where we had the round last year. It's just such a it's just enduro. You know, the place is, you know, the epitome of what enduro is. As far as kind of motocross racetracks, I'd say it's hard to argue with kind of like tracks of the past then, and certainly like World Championship tracks, like you've got Namur and places like that have such iconic races. So yeah, I'd say kind of those two really.
Cool. Like going back to your past, like as a motocross kid in the UK, what track stands out for you as the track that as a kid you wanted to race at?
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. A lot of the bigger tracks, because I did schoolboys and was on a relatively like small bikes really, kind of up to 85, and then we transitioned into enduro more. There's actually a really cool track quite local to here called Whiteway Barton.
Yeah.
That was what I was really fond of going there, whereas opposed to like Landrake, say, is kind of a mixed memories of that. I've had a couple of crashes there, and like it was always a track that was kind of daunting when you're on an 85. But yeah, I'd say kind of from a motocross point of view, I'd say Whiteway is actually quite fun and enjoyable, especially on an enduro bike as well, because it's not really overly motocross, so it's kind of you can get away with the softer suspension and mooses and stuff.
That's cool. And I'm going to dip in there a little bit, but so how did your transition? Because I wondered that, because obviously you raced schoolboy motocross for quite a lot of years, and obviously there's certainly down this way. There's not really. I know. Clubs are pushing it a little bit more now, but there's not really a youth enduro scene. So how did that transition come about?
Well, we literally spent pretty much during schoolboy times. We spent a lot of our time down in Cornwall racing. I'd done a lot of stuff around here in kind of Devon. I can't remember the exact time, but because I used to do some enduros when I was on a 65, and that was back when Steve Ireland was the only kind of guy doing youth enduros. So and it's funny, I was having on a walk with my mum the other day, and we were chatting about it, and we literally spent every weekend like away. Either if it's down Cornwall, it was like Mid Wales, North Wales. Like we spent so much time like on the road. And basically it was just through doing that. I've got an older brother who used to ride, so we kind of do it together. And I'd say it's from like 65s doing enduros and then to 85s, and kind of I'd say certainly big wheel 85 I changed more to enduro, I would say, and especially like from 125 onwards. From when I was 16, basically we started racing British Enduro Championship and kind of just worked my way up the ladder really.
So when did you get to that point when you're like, because I suppose as a youngster, were your heroes enduro riders or motocross riders?
Motocross for sure. Yeah, I know, like most kids. But then it's, you come to a point, certainly in the motocross thing, where it's very difficult to become it's difficult in any sport to become a professional, but motocross seemed very unattainable, and even enduro, like I never dreamed that I would do this for a living. My goal was to always try and go in the RAF and become a pilot. Okay. That was kind of, and a funny story, I went into actually the careers office, the RAF careers office in my local town when I was in college. And luckily enough, he kind of, not to sign up, but to get a bit more kind of information. And he basically said, come back when you're 21. He said, go and do whatever you want, kind of live your life a little bit. And if you're still keen, come back in 21. And, that'll be a good kind of age to do it. And at 21, I signed my first pro contract. So it was kind of,
So was it? Were you on the verge then? Really? Was it a matter of if that pro contract had been delayed for a month?
Yeah.
Do you think that your whole life?
I think I was a little bit more certainly those. If I'd decided thought at that time, then when I went into the RF careers kind of thing, that I was like, no, I don't think I'm ever going to make it as a rider. I want to do this now. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am now, but I think luckily that gave me the time to kind of develop, and kind of the years after that were really big and instrumental in my career. And once I got to a point where kind of European Championship had kind of finished and I went into the Junior World Championship, I kind of knew that it was possible really. And then, like I say, as soon as I signed that first contract and got my first World Championship in 2016, it's pretty much quite steep, quite a steep kind of incline, and basically I haven't looked back.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so it could have been an RF pilot.
Yeah, I'd obviously have to pass all the exams to be a pilot. But I thought that was a really kind of interesting, way to go. So.
I would have thought the memory side of things would have helped
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so you've got the credentials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, let's go. Let's delve in again now.
Yeah. Number 9.
Oh, I like this one. So, define yourself in 4 words.
Oh wow!
You didn't expect to get one like this.
Yeah, no. Got to try to sound big-headed now. No. I think relaxed is one, in a good way, as opposed to being like a stress head. I would say funny. Not many people kind of see that side, and you know. But yeah, I would say kind of I try to have a joke and a laugh with people. Serious when I need to be. I don't know. Good on that bike. Yeah, without being too much of getting into kind of like personality traits, but yeah, well, I enjoy life.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But interestingly, obviously, talking to Josh again,
yeah,
he said you're good on a night out.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Again, and that's the thing about the Enduro side. You don't see that because we see you, because I think we only see you in race mode, really. We don't see that other element.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even within the paddock, and I know I brought this up a little bit with Josh the other night, and you know, and obviously people have views of you before they've even met you, but you know, I think a lot of people's view of me in the race paddock is I'm kind of serious, but you know, I'm there to do a job. You know, that is my time to do my job. You know, whereas outside of it, I'm, you know, kind of a different person. But yeah, I mean, like I say, people always make opinions of you, but yeah, try to kind of be as serious as I need to be when I need to be.
So the relaxing is interesting as well, because, and I have to say, like I thought I'd be good and do some research beforehand, but there's not that many interviews with you.
No.
And I did. There was a good one with Enduro 21 actually that I saw, and it was quite interesting on that one. And it said, I think it was a few years old.
Yeah,
it's when you were battling with Brad.
Oh yeah,
and you said on that one that Brad doesn't like the pressure.
Yeah.
Do you think for you, the fact that you're relaxed is what has helped you? Especially because I can imagine it is pressurized. Because we're talking seconds, aren't we?
Yeah. Oh, milliseconds. I think, closest last year I finished second by 0.3 seconds.
Right, that's crazy. Yeah.
But especially over like an hour and 15 minutes worth of time. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So do you think that being relaxed, is that a conscious thing, or is that just the way you are?
A little bit the way I am, but from a bike point of view, it takes a lot to get to that state. You know, because not from a mental point of view, but you know, you need to be, and a lot of it comes from confidence on the bike, confidence in your training, confidence in your fitness, and all of that kind of helps support you and make you kind of think that you've done all the hard work, you're feeling good, you know, and especially the years, and even now to a degree, but the years kind of when I was on a two-stroke, there was no one in kind of the race that I kind of feared, you know, because and even now, like, I know I can beat every single person that lines up kind of next to me. You know, I've had a bit of a rough year in kind of proving that in terms of results, but mentally, like, there's no one that I fear, that I know can kind of, you know, beat me when I'm on my A game. So I just need to get back to that.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because this was the other thing I remember now, actually, from when we were talking about, obviously, from your pro career starting, you know, up until probably the last couple of years, it was pretty plain sailing. You didn't have the injury issues and stuff like that. You know, how have you learned anything about yourself, about how you deal with injuries, because you haven't had to deal with that before?
Massively. Like the saying goes, you learn a lot more when you don't win as opposed to when you win, because, you know, when you win, you think everything's going well, you know, and it was, and, you know, everything was going right. Had a couple of years with some small injuries, you know, illness in 2019. But yeah, certainly the last few years, there's not been a lot that has kind of gone right, you know, and then the problem is you get on the back foot. So you're not as fit kind of because you're trying to deal with injuries and you're not riding as much, and it's like a slippery slope, really. And kind of last year was a really good start for me, especially like the first day, but I winded myself up quite bad in the video of me going cartwheeling on the first day. And literally since then, it's just been like I just haven't managed to get back. You know, it's always something that's kind of holding me back. So it's actually been really good with this injury to kind of have that time off, reset, really evaluate kind of what has gone wrong in the last few years. Is it something about me? Is it something about the bike? Is it something about how I deal with things? And it's kind of been good to just put everything on the table, understand, and kind of regroup and rebuild. And like I say, it's actually been really fun to kind of rebuild. And it's going to be good now to get back on the bike and kind of, get back to it.
Yeah, proper reset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I kind of needed it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah. There we go. Let's go to number 3.
Number 4.
They're all early ones, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay.
What is your earliest memory? So this can be. There's probably two elements of this.
Yeah.
So this is like your earliest memory.
Yeah.
And also probably your earliest race memory. I reckon we go for a double.
Yeah, I'd say earliest memory. But this is the thing. I think I was too young to like remember it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I remember being on like a little baby changing bed when I was a little baby, or like an ironing board type thing behind a sofa at my mum and dad's, and I had my mum and dad like over me and my brother, and they were saying something. But like I say, I don't know if that's just me imagining that, but I'm sure it happened at some point. But that's kind of the earliest kind of memory. And I would say earliest racing memory, or riding memory. Probably a bad one is, and we talked about it on the podcast with Josh the other night, cartwheeling PW50 at my mate's track, Alex Snow's track, and he explains it quite well because he was a little bit older, and kind of like my helmet visors all down, bits of grass coming off. I was just like screaming, chatting with my dad, like walking back the field. So probably those two.
Yeah, that's good. So Alex Snow, obviously he's gone from a pro motocross career. Obviously he's training now. He's doing a good job of that. And obviously into Enduro. Yeah. So were you schoolboys at the same time with you? Yeah.
So I grew up. His younger brother's like kind of my best mate, and I grew up kind of around their house and riding, and Alex kind of was, is a couple of years older than me, and my brother's a little bit younger than Alex. So I spent a lot of time with them growing up. And Alex has effectively known me since I was a little pup. So it's just been interesting, and kind of, I wouldn't say I had a massive amount to do with Alex when I was younger, but certainly when his transition to Enduro and kind of him moving back closer to here, for the few years that kind of when he was professional then in the race in like kind of 2021, I don't think there was a day that we kind of practiced outside of, us riding together. So I have a really good relationship with Alex.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. Like you see that, different Enduro riders sort of training. Do you think that helps like the motocross intensity? Because you say that, but what you're doing is pretty intense as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it a different way, the intensity?
It is, and I think depends. And I think it depends as well on riders, like, and if they like riding with people. Like, I'm not fussed. I can go and do the same amount of work on my own as I can kind of with someone. And I think Enduro is a good sport because it comes from you. It's not judged like motocross where you've got people trying to pass you. You're trying to catch people. Like, it's literally just you. And so I think it's very good to train alone in some instances, but then you can lag a little bit, and I often used to get that with when we used to ride with Al, and he kind of make fun of it sometimes. Like, we'd be doing a test, and we'd be like kind of same time, or Al might pit me, and then I'd be like, I'm just gonna actually try, like not that I wasn't trying, but like try and really go, and I take like 10 seconds off my time, and he's like, you need to kind of practice like that, and it's like, but then the risk level goes up, and it's just having that ability. I like to still have a little bit more to go, and like I said, that close race this year in Slovakia, where I was like 10 seconds down going into the last special test, and I was like, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go now. And I finished 0.3 behind. So do you know, like, obviously going into each test, do you know what the gap is? Yeah. So you keep track of the gap, and I'm not saying you kind of, if you've got a good lead, you can kind of judge it. So you'd be like, do you know what, I don't need to push really hard here. I need to try and save some time. And again, it depends. Sometimes you're feeling it, and you don't think you're riding that fast, but you're smoking everyone. But yeah, you kind of need to hit everything as hard as you can. But it's always that balance of, you don't want to go into something giving it everything you have, because that's when accidents happen. Or where they're more likely to happen.
And the thing is, with motocross, I suppose you can have a tip over and whatever and still get on and win. If you lose 5-6 seconds, a small crash, stall or something like
exactly.
that's catastrophic.
Yeah, exactly. And it depends where it is, if it's early on in the test, it's how it then affects you the rest of that test. Because a normal tip over, you could kind of stop watch and time it, and it'd be between 6 to 10 seconds, depending on how you crash, the bike which way. But then it's like, instantly your adrenaline goes up then, and it's trying to stay level headed for the rest of that special test. So there's a lot that goes into it, really. And trying to stay kind of calm and assess the situation, and there's days where you go to races and you're feeling good and you're nowhere near it, and then you've just got to think, do you know what, I just need to do the best I can and kind of regroup and come back next time.
I suppose that's always a champion thing, isn't it? You win on your bad days.
100%.
Cool. Right, let's delve in.
11.
God, they are early ones, isn't
they? Root around the edges.
This is another one. We're going back in the day, aren't we? Your most memorable school day.
Tricky. I don't know. It's tricky. I mean, I got good memories from school, and I did enjoy being there. But I wouldn't say overly. It's kind of, I wasn't overly academic, especially as I got into college. I think leaving day was pretty fun. I think it was cool that everybody's kind of hyped up, aren't they? And a lot of the people, that was probably the last time that you saw them. We'll go with kind of leaving day, and not from the fact that you were leaving it, but I think just the fact that everyone's kind of happy and enjoying it, and taking pictures and.
Do you have, is there anybody from your class from school has gone on to do anything? Obviously, what you've done, in maybe in a different way.
I can't really think. I think there's a lot of people in college. There were some people that did well in kind of sports, but like I say, a lot of you grow apart a little bit from school friends. I mean, I certainly have, and especially with riding and traveling, you kind of group with people that kind of are doing similar things. But I'm probably forgetting people, but I don't think, certainly not in my year, that I would say that have kind of, gone to do professional sports at least. I bet that there probably is, and someone will probably comment. But
there's going to be
exactly.
Someone. What about him?
Yeah, exactly. But like I say, not that a name's kind of jumping out.
Yeah, nice. What did you do at college?
First year was engineering, physics, biology, and sport.
Okay.
And then second year was sport, engineering. Second year. I kind of finished that with that.
You had sort of a few options then. RAF, engineering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and and the physics and kind of biology perhaps were a little bit more than I could kind of deal with, and even the sport, because you I don't know what it's like now, but I couldn't do anything related to motorbikes. So I think I kind of done basketball, and that was a little bit rough. And I played rugby quite a lot when I was a kid. Never really any good, but again, that was like we were saying about making decisions. Like it was like, do I carry on with the whole rugby thing, and then you start perhaps getting injured and stuff like that, or do you kind of do the motocross side of things? Basically made that decision to kind of step away from town rugby at least. A lot of decisions.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, they affect you, don't they, all the way through?
Yeah. 13. Oh, lucky 13.
Here we go. So this one, what is the biggest crowd you have ever raced in front
of? Probably Germany, I'd say. Probably in America, maybe. But I'd say, Germany, kind of like 2017, 2018, that kind of era. There was a lot of people there.
So like the super tests, because Enduro, as in your Saturday and Sunday racing, I suppose in essence is not that spectator friendly, really.
No.
But the super test is a different beast.
And you have kind of, it's a whole 3-hour program effectively. So, whereas in the woods you can kind of, you get the same thing, but you just see someone go past. And you might see him come back the other way, if the track's kind of like that. But that's why it's a little bit more kind of hardcore fans that go, and why it's so hard to televise as well.
Yeah, it is a hard sport to televise, isn't it? For that reason. But like I said, the super test. When did they bring that in?
It was before I started. I got a feeling it like 2012, 2013, something like that. Might have been even earlier than that. But like I say, when I kind of came in 2015, it was already there.
Yeah. Okay. Now it's cool. The theory was you do 5 questions and then I get a wildcard pick. And now I've got about 100 questions.
Yeah,
but I'm going to do a couple of wildcard picks now. I'm just going to have a little trick. There's one of them actually that we will do. Yeah. I can't remember what number it is, and I can't find it on my list. But when we last spoke, you just had a tattoo.
I did.
Now, me and my friends are the most untattooed people.
Yeah.
I haven't got one.
Yeah.
Like about 5 of my mates, none of us have got tattoos.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm not scared of the pain of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've just never really wanted one.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am quite intrigued by the meanings behind it and why people got them. So
yeah, I mean, meaning-wise, I've got one. I got a couple. I'm not tattooed right up, but I got one on my back, which was a bookmark that my mum got me, like a quote, which I can't remember what it was now. I think it's take pride in how far you've come and have faith in how far you can go, and that was kind of like right as I was kind of getting good on a bike. So it was quite prominent. But again, I keep forgetting it's on my back. I got a little one in like a lad's holiday when we were in Turkey. Again, not really too much of a meaning other than I got a web foot like inside my big toe. So I got like a dotted line and a pair of scissors like to cut that.
Was that a drunken one?
Yeah, that was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I've got like a little band. So I wanted to get a tattoo when I was in New Zealand. I've been to New Zealand quite a few times. And we went over there. 3 mates kind of hired a camper and went round, which was really, really cool. And so I got like this kind of like New Zealand type design band. And I was like, that was the start of kind of getting a lower leg tattoo. Yeah. But I'd never done anything with it. And then, kind of this year and having kind of the shoulder off and not riding, I was like, kind of, I'll try and do a couple of bits to it. So I got a bit of a, like a New Zealand leaf, like their national flag to kind of link into it all.
Yeah.
And then I got like a big watercolor tattoo now on my calf of a stag. Being close to Exmoor and stags. And, and the old nickname was like the Exmoor Beast because of and although that was kind of like thought of being like a puma. Yeah. It's kind of that whole relationship with like Exmoor and being here. So like I say, I'm not like tattooed right up, but yeah, I do like the odd thing if it kind of really appeals to me.
Is the puma still out there? Because it's the weird one. I've actually seen it. Not here. I've seen one in Weymouth.
Oh, really?
And it wasn't just me. Someone else saw as well.
Yeah. I've seen the one in the Exmoor Zoo. But yeah, God knows if it's still up there.
Yeah. So no, I have actually seen one. Yeah. I'm not kidding. I've seen it. So there is a Dorset.
Yeah.
Puma. He's probably
jumped. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's the same one.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick another one. Right. I'm going to go for this one. This is. We'll make this the last one, and then we'll sign off. Yeah. But what we are going to do for the next episodes, so I'll let everybody know who's on the show, and then you guys can send in your questions, and then we'll pick one out of the bag, and whoever that person is, obviously we're asked a question, but there will be some sort of giveaway related to it as well. So that will happen for the next one. So the tattoo one we've done. Okay, then we're going to go for this one. So if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
It's tricky. I'd like to say like invisibility and then like sneak up on people, but that's a little bit corny. God, it's tricky. I think I want to say like invincibility, but then I don't think it would be not from a long life lasting. I mean, just from the fact that like you couldn't kind of get injured or you always stayed healthy. But then I still think you'd need to live like just a normal life of however long that's going to be. So yeah, invincibility, but at some point die.
I'm with it.
Just like you can't, you can't get sick, you can't do everything. And
see, I'd see you being a good superhero, and the reason I say this because I was thinking about this, how you'd answer it, because I'd see you doing something good with it as well. Yeah. Because I remember Weymouth Beach Race, and I got it on video. I don't know how I caught it. Like I caught Charlie Putnam throwing someone's boot at him. Yeah. I caught you at Weymouth Beach Race. You come off with some dude, right, and you helped him up. Yeah. And then got back on. Yeah. And I just thought that is quite nice. Yeah, and then you went and unlapped yourself, which is pretty impressive as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I was thinking as well. So if the World Championship was on the line, would you have helped him up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think if I was stuck under my bike and someone, it's funny as well. I done it not long ago. I did it in America as well. Yeah, some dude like when the group behind the XC2 guys come past, because I'd basically blown my gasket. After the first lap, I was like over 200 beats a minute for like 45 minutes, pretty much. So I basically worked myself too much. Anyway, and this guy came past, and then next thing I know, I just see this guy like under his bike in the middle of a whoop. So I was just like, I'm just a couple of second break, lift it off. But and even in kind of like local hare and hound races, like I'd like to think I'm quite a respectful guy. Like I don't ever really charge up on anyone. I kind of let people know. I don't really shout, other than to say people kind of if I'm going on a side. So, but like in Weymouth, it's kind of that arguably was caused by me because you can only. I've got to make a split second decision on what side I need to go, and the guy's probably all over the shop in the Saturn, so we kind of collided, I think, and like I say, he was under his bike, so I got to pick myself up anyway, so I might as well give him a hand. So,
yeah, no, it's fair play. I remember that it was quite entertaining that race because you went down the start straight wheeling, didn't you?
Yeah, the bike didn't start.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I took the back the insert out of the exhaust. I thought I might give it like a little bit more bottom end, but it didn't give it enough back pressure to start, so it didn't start.
Okay.
So I put that back in for the second race and got the whole shot.
So yeah, no, it's good. It was good to see you there. Obviously, a lot of people enjoyed seeing the race of that one.
Yeah, I do enjoy it, and it's just always clashed recently. The same like with Western. It's just I'd obviously done it. When was that? 21, end of 21. Which was good. I enjoyed it, but it's just trying to kind of juggle everything, especially now being it earlier in the year. It's just hard to kind of link up stuff. So,
definitely. So it's cool. So what we'll just sign off. We'll just talk about obviously this year. Mm-hmm. Can say next year, but it's this year.
Yeah.
Obviously getting fit.
Yeah.
I think you said a couple of Italian rounds first up for the GP.
Yeah. So literally now I got 4 weeks on the bike until first race.
Right.
Which is come around pretty quick, but so I'm going to be going in a little bit kind of under where I'd like to be, but again, the season's so long, like especially with what we do, you can recover fitness quite quick, and especially on the bike, like you're not going to forget how to ride. Like I said, when I rode on the weekend, it was kind of like I hadn't been off the bike really. We got a couple of 2-day Italian Championship rounds, kind of first weekend and third weekend of March, and then the GP at the end of March, Italian GP. So it's going to be good. It's going to be a good kind of 6-week period there. I'm going to go to Spain a little bit before and try and get some drier kind of weather and a bit more intensity, and then go to Italy and stay in Italy and get the racing done.
Superb. And then obviously you got the GP season.
Yeah.
IST obviously reigning champions.
Yeah.
Must be excited to defend that, which is amazing achievement by everyone involved.
Yeah.
Massive team effort, wasn't it? And again, I didn't understand how much goes on behind that. That is unreal.
Yeah. I'd forgotten how big of a task it was, the actual race, and how much, like we're on about walking, I think we did over like 50 mile in that kind of week before, and the fact that some of the tests were like an hour out the way of from the other one, so it was just a full-on kind of week before the race, doing that.
So you've got that. Any other plans for like more American and talking New Zealand? Do you ever want to race over there?
I mean, I don't know as far as the New Zealand Championship, kind of how like what kind of level that is, but and whether it runs in the summer, I'm not sure when that is, because I've usually gone like kind of January time and December, especially in the past. But I think I got a couple trips this year. I'm going to hopefully get over to Japan and do some kind of training schools over there. I got a friend who came over to Italy for a little bit, a mechanic, Ogie. So I'm hopefully going to go over there and do some training schools. Try and do a week kind of mountain biking in France, which is awesome with the lads. And then hopefully another tattoo. And then hopefully get back to. So I planned to go to Mexico the last 2 years, end of season. The first year kind of was COVID. It was really difficult to travel. Second year last year when I had my shoulder operation, so I couldn't go. So I'm hoping to get over to Mexico and kind of do a bit of South America the end of this season. Kind of that's as far as big trips out. And like I say, I'd love to go over to America, but it's just it's trying to fit it in with everything. And I think to kind of do any good, you need to just commit yourself to go there. So, and at the minute, I think I've still got a lot more to give in the World Championship side of things, and I still want to get, at least another kind of GP championship, and then we'll see.
Superb. Well, thank you very much. Allowing me into home. You might be able to see behind there. There's loads of helmets on there and trophies and stuff like that. So it's pretty impressive there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do one. So right, there's gonna be one last question, just because of what's here. Right. The house is on fire. I know this is great to say it. The house on fire. The dog, family, everyone is safe. Right? Everyone's safe. Yeah. What is the one thing that you come in and grab?
It's tricky. I don't know. If everything like personal wise, like you say, the fiance now, and I keep saying girlfriend, but we actually got engaged end of last year. And the dog are out. I really don't know. There's not that much that's not replaceable, really. You could say kind of the helmets, maybe trophies. I mean, there's some really meaningful ones, but God, I don't know. I'd say probably 6 days helmet. I do really like that. Just to be easy. But like I say, I'm not kind of overly sentimental. But
6 days helmet, we'll take that. We can understand that one. Yeah. So no, that's cool. So no, thank you very much for inviting us into your home and for being the first one on the Gatepick podcast. Really appreciate it. And obviously, we'll let you know soon about the next one, the next episode, who we have on that one. Any ideas? Who do you think we should have?
I don't know.
Who do you think we should put under pressure?
Enduro side or motocross?
Whatever.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a top level motocross. British motocross would be good.
Go for British. Yeah. I'm thinking Brad Anderson. I think he'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah.
He might not give long answers, but I think he'd have to probe a bit.
The good thing as well, and depends with what your questions were, but I think podcasts are always juicier with retired people. Because you can. It's like stuff like me. There's so much that I'd love to talk about, but you can't.
Right, well, book you in for retirement.
Yeah, exactly. Go for that one. Especially when you're kind of out the industry, it'd be so many juicy things.
Okay, right, we'll book you in. As soon as you retire.
Yeah.
It could be a while yet, though. You've got a few more times in there. So, no, thank you very much for tuning in. With Steve, best of luck with the 2023 season.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next month with another show, and we'll let you know who's going to be on.